Greetings, greetings. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. You are now tuned into 13 Signs of Astrology. I'm your master of ceremony. My name is Ram Hotep. And what I'm going to do here on this episode is I'm going to kind of take you into the cloning aspect of the reptilian technology that I've been kind of talking about and that I've been kind of addressing. And the cloning, it's important to understand this because this is really what kind of got us into this whole war, this global World War III that we're now experiencing. And the cloning is going to take us into World War IV, actually. Because what they're not telling you is that World War III, that's been done, took place. World War III, that started years ago. We're going into World War IV. See, World War III was about putting the mark of the beast in you. You know, putting the implants in you. And I'm going to definitely do an episode on tags and implants, as I was talking about, and go more into that. But that was World War III. Getting you into the technology, pretty much. Getting you to sell your soul to the technology to the point where you don't really know anything about being a human or what it is to really, like, be a human, because, you know what I'm saying? Like, you done sold your soul to some form of freaking technology. So that's what World War III was about, is like really just getting you wrapped up into that and getting you to get caught up into that. So now we're going into World War IV and the cloning. And this is kind of like basically taking you into, I guess you could say, the after effects of everything that happened in World War III is leading into another war, because the problem with it is knowledge and intellect. And that's how we got duped. However, our intellect and our knowledge is kind of like what's causing a form of like resistance, I guess you could say, like in the youngsters and the young people, those of us that are, you know, still, I guess you could say, of a youthful spirit, if you will. Like, even those people that may be a little bit older and mature, but they still have that youthful spirit. There's a resistance in the spirit and the energy of those particular individuals, and it's because of the fact that the knowledge and the intellect. Because it's like, even though you may have been born in this world and you was born into a world of clones and technology and neutrinoids and alien species and things of that nature, you still have the connection with your ancestors, which is like a natural connection, even as a youth. And you know what it is, and you know you know what it is to experience the truth, is what I'm saying. So, and when you experience the truth, that kind of creates an alternate technology, or like an alternative technology. Just hearing the truth, and it begins to create like a spark in you. So you start doing things based upon the truth that you're hearing. So this is like an alternative technology that you were born with as a youth. And most of the star seeds was born with it. However, at the same time, while we were being born, they were weaving in a new technology to kind of like, not just to suppress the truth, but to keep you to basically keep you in a form of a mind control or a spell that you essentially are casting on yourself, a spell of belief, which is based upon you doing something over and over again, or like a spell of being in like a routine. So you was put into like a spell or like a routine based upon this energy or this spell that was cast on you by these higher beings from this intellect, this higher intellect that they had. And they started to use this intellect, and they started to play chess with not just really us, our generation, but this started even back in the 1930s. I mean, because they've been cloning in the 30s. I'm going to go into the cloning now, but they've been cloning since like even the 1800s, actually. This started even as far back as then. And human beings decided to take on higher intellect. They wanted a higher knowledge. Like when you hear about the Garden of Eden story and the snake coming to the garden and offering Eve, first of all, some type of a fruit so that she would experience some type of a higher knowledge or like an everlasting life. And that's what these higher ETs did to your ancestors, to those that came before you, and they took it. To be honest with you, see, that's what people ain't going to tell you. the elders took it and they just kept it a secret. And these like frat orders and these like sororities and these like Masonic lodges and these different organizations and these temples, they kept it a secret. But they started taking on extraterrestrial, or what you would call intellect or higher intellect, so that they could experience a higher version of life, or which is really a technology. And they were doing this, and I'm gonna go into some of it, but it started with the melanin. It started with the melanin. See, a lot of people don't realize that even melanated people was taken, because there was a lot of melanated people that mixed their genes back in, in the so-called slavery days, right? And they mixed their genes. So they was coming, and their children was coming out light-skinned, and their children was learning about the superiority of blackness. What they weren't telling you is that they were selling melanin, even melatonin pills and stuff like that, like even back in the day, like even back then they were selling this stuff. And it was like a higher technology, and they started taking this stuff, right? And this is a higher technology, and they began to experience higher versions of sexuality. Basically, what you would experience as being like a dominant melanated being, they begin to experience these things from taking extracts of melanin, not knowing the sources of where this melanin was coming from, right? So they having babies, they out here having babies. This is cloning. They are actually hybrids, is what they are. I'm going to go into hybrids and all of that on the next episode, because I got to shut down. So I might just cut it out, like cut y'all off and jump back in on the next episode and just go back in, just go into the next topic, because I only have a certain amount of time, and that time is just about to end. But so if I cut you off, I'll come back in. But so they had hybrids, you know what I'm saying? That they were hybrids going out and seeding, populating the earth, doing the experiments that the Anunnaki, they said, and let us seed the earth. See, these experiments, what they're not telling you is that are being played out. The Anunnaki played out there, or was taught humanoids these different higher truths and things of that nature, and taught them how to play these things out through different sacred occult orders. However, they kept certain things a secret. And this is when you get into what's called the X factor, and I'll address that in part 2 of the cloning. So I'm just going into the introduction of the cloning right now. This is just the intro. I'm going to go into the X factor. So yeah, I'm talking about taking on cloned body parts when they getting old, and say for instance they was getting cancer and they don't want to die, so they go to the doctor, right? And the doctor gives them a heart, or gives them some type of an organ, and gives them the history of where this organ come from, and they don't tell their family that basically, really, essentially, they're now a clone, because they're not taking on an extraterrestrial body part that is not indigenous to their body and taking it in, and they don't know where it really came from. The doctor's giving them explanation, not telling them really this came from extraterrestrial minds. So this is the technology that we started to sell our soul to, and now it's going into these phones, and I'm going to go into that. It's going to get deep. Like, these segments will get deep. But it started out, that's how it started out back in the day with our parents. So in those projects or whatever, with the DNA and all of that type of stuff. It started back then with the DNA projects and things of that nature, and they began to take on ET parts, and they began to take on what's called the X factor. And it got deep. And it was like I started out as a higher intellect that came from astrology, the zodiac, and the stars. And they ran with it, and they took it and ran with it. And it was like into the hippie circles and all that stuff our parents was into back in the day and stuff like that. It was into the 70s and the, and all the different go-go and a disco type of era. They was learning this stuff from higher beings, not even knowing it. They were just passing it down through the music and through different occult orders, not knowing that it was booby traps. And it was side effects that would come in, that was based on the Philadelphia experiment too, which links into this. I'm going to tie all of this in. It was side effects that would come in every 10 years. Every 10 years. So it started in like 1893, and it was going to be side effects every 10 years. So we sold our soul to the technology and to the cloning, and they tricked us. And now these tricks is going to cause a World War IV. And that's what I'll go into on the next episode. And I'm going to come at you quick with these episodes, like I said. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down. My time ran out. I'm sorry. I thank you guys for listening and watching. I'll come back up as soon as I can. Irie, good vibes, Hotep, Namaste, Wadu.